Hi guys, welcome back to my XVS guide. Now I'm gonna review King Bradley, so let's start from his stats. So like you can see that his stats is pretty decent, okay, especially for Neo Vision Awakened unit, because like you can see that he gets 400 raw attack boost on both normal and brave shield form. That will make him have higher attack stats compared to other NVA unit, okay, and 200% attack boost, nothing to complain. And like you can see that he also has quite decent health, okay, 100% health boost. So yes, he is quite tanky, and for defense and spirit, it is pretty decent for physical DPS, 60% defense and 20% spirit. But one thing I want to tell you here is he can become AoE physical defense on normal form, but like you can see that for AoE physical cover tank, this defense number is not big by any mean, okay. So if you want to make him into AoE physical tank, the only way to go is through physical evasion. And talking about physical evasion, he is pretty good because like you can see that he already has 40% physical evasion built in on his passive, okay, so you're pretty decent. He also has 100% chance to ignore fatal damage, so yes, I can say his stats is pretty decent. Combined with killer, okay, on brave shield form he gets 200% human killer. It is pretty nice. Maybe it will help you against Asura if you haven't defeated. And based on the new exclusive global event, they show us Asura, so I can say maybe he is quite good on upcoming global exclusive event. And he also get 100% limit burst damage, 150% fast ability rate, and 5 limit burst crystals regen per turn. So yes, it is decent if you want to spam his limit burst on brave shield form. So I can say his stats and passives are awesome, okay. But what about his normal form? Let's take a look on it. On normal form, he can chain with Stardust Ray, and like you can see that his Stardust Ray is also pretty decent because it is above average, 86 times non-elemental damage to single target. Okay, very nice. And one thing that's really good here is he has Stardust Ray chain which also break 85% all stats to all enemies, which means he is really slot efficient character. You can ditch your breaker from your party when you use King Bradley. Okay, so this is why I like him so much. He also has 60 times Stardust Ray chain and also increased 25% thunder damage, so pretty decent. For Imperial, you can do the Imperial too, but be careful because you need to use ultimate I to get that 120% Imperial, okay? And he also able to give 500% sword break damage, which is good when you need it. Okay, and for imbue, he only able to imbue thunder element on his normal form. But again, the special thing about him is, like I said, he can become your tanker, and that means he is really slot efficient character. If you able to build him into a tanker, if you, let's say, able to max him into 100% physical evasion, which is pretty easy to do, you will see later, then he can become your breaker, damage dealer, tanker at the same time, okay. But again, on battle like against Asura, you cannot do that because you need to rely on defense stats. But on the battle where you can rely on physical evasion, he is really insanely good characters. And let's say some bosses also can be inflicted with like disease or whatever, you can also do that with King Bradley. So I can say he is pretty complete. And let's say, sure, I have said that he can only become a tanker when the enemy doesn't have accuracy, but you can still use him as emergency AoE physical cover because he has 10 physical evasion buff through his Magnus ability. Based on from what I know, this physical evasion buff cannot be bypassed by accuracy because it is a buff, okay? So still, you can use him as a tank. 10 physical evasion may be as good as 2 AoE physical ignore, you can ignore 2 AoE physical attack, right? If I'm not mistaken. For limit burst, you don't want to use this limit burst except for the evasion, because for the damage, his Brave Shift limit burst is much superior than this. So that's all for the normal form. Now let's take a look on Brave Shift form. So on Brave Shift form, he is still Stardust Ray Chain, okay, but I think this Stardust Ray Chain is more to support his limit burst. Like you can see that his Stardust Ray Chain damage is lower than his normal form, but with some nice effect. 150% human killer buff. This is insane because, like you remember, he already has 200% human killer. Okay, so this is pretty insane. And for Imperil, you don't need to worry because you don't need to use Ultimate Eye. Simply go to Brave Shift form and he has 2 element Imperil, fire and lightning. Okay, very nice. And for cooldown, he has insane backload chain. Okay, 2 times on first 9 hits. After that, 108 times backload chain. And he also has Aureal Ray Chain, and this is one of the best Aureal Ray move on the game, okay, because it is non-elemental and the damage modifier is quite nice, 66 times. The nice thing about this Aureal Ray is you can combine it with Stardust Ray Chain, so you can easily reach 100 chain on Dark Vision. On normal situation, this may be not that important, but on Dark Vision, this is important, okay, especially if he can attract the enemy attack too. So wow, very nice on Dark Vision. And he also able to imbue himself with fire and lightning element, so you don't need to worry about those elements if you need them on the battle. And yes, as a true dual wield, he also has 200% accuracy. So this is something that is really important, okay? This is the only weakness true dual wield character has, in my opinion. So with this 200% accuracy self buff, he is pretty decent. He also has 2 Grandis or Magnus ability, okay? He has Super Dispel, which is always nice to have 3 times. So very nice. And the second Grandis ability will grant him with 150% limit burst damage boost buff, okay? This is nice because his limit burst is pretty powerful. And sure, you can only use this Magnus ability 4 times, but the limit burst damage buff lasts for 5 turns. Okay, so you don't need to cast this that often unless of course you die. So I can say you can maintain 150% limit burst damage buff for like 20 turns throughout the battle. So yes, very nice. For limit burst, like you can see that this limit burst is another nice thing. Okay, this grant him 250% physical accuracy. So yes, you don't need to use that self buff if you don't need that 300% attack buff, but that's pretty decent, okay? And the damage is also very nice, 142 times base damage, very decent. And combined with, let's say, if you're able to max his limit burst damage boost by himself, which mean, what I mean by himself is you only get limit burst damage buff from his abilities, from his Grandis. You can get like 450% limit burst damage, which means 781 times damage. So that's quite high for physical DPS, especially if you use him against human where he has insane damage. And yes, this limit burst doesn't require lots of limit burst crystals. So I can say that with decent Fossil ABV rate buff on battle and some Fossil ABV rate equipment, you can spam this every turn. Okay, only 34 limit burst crystal. This is what makes him very great. Okay, and don't worry about you say he is slot efficient, because basically you can revert into his normal form anytime you want because he has true Brave Shift form. So on normal form you can use that provoke and break the enemy, and then on the next turn you can go back into Brave Shift form and then unleash this limit burst. Okay, so you only need to go back into normal form like every 3 or 4 turns, which is very nice character. Okay, so that's for the Brave Shift form. Now let's take a look on equipment. For equipment, it is also pretty decent and easy to gear, because if you equip his Thrustmaster Reward and STMR, you already has like 70%, yeah, 70% draw attack. So let's say you add another STMR weapon, Durandal, you already have 100% physical evasion. It is very easy to gear. You don't need to worry about, oh, I need to sacrifice some equipment. No, you don't need to do that, okay? Because his Thrustmaster Reward and STMR already gives you lots of physical evasion. Okay, especially if you have like, yeah, some STMR equipment more than Durandal, I forgot. So that's it, okay? And yes, I don't think you need to have draw attack, because he has a skill that provoke the enemy with 100% chance, unless of course the enemy able to dispel. Then on that situation, you need to use other character as a provoker, or to make him into having like 100% innate draw attack. Okay, other than that, pretty easy to gear. So really great character. So my conclusion for King Bradley. King Bradley really surprised me, okay? I think, oh, he just give me character, but after I see his abilities, I can say that he is pretty decent character. And I can say maybe he is on par with free Gilgamesh. The only downside he has compared to Gilgamesh is maybe his equipment choice, and he cannot imperil all elements. But yeah, remember, Gilgamesh cannot become your tanker. But for this King Bradley, he can become your provoker, okay? When you can use that 100% physical evasion. So wow, I can say he is on par, or maybe a little bit better than Gilgamesh, because for imperil, almost every character who use certain element able to imperil the element, so you probably don't need that element imperil that much, okay? But for him, wow, this King Bradley is really nice. And remember, talking about damage, Gilgamesh damage, I can say maybe not that amazing compared to King Bradley. King Bradley, even when he is a slot efficient character, he doesn't sacrifice his damage output, okay? That 400 attack raw boost, insane, and the damage modifier is pretty good, also same for the Brave Shift limit burst. So really guys, he doesn't compensate anything for becoming slot efficient character. Really one of the best NVA unit you can get on this game. And his Thrustmaster and STMR also quite decent if you need extra evasion. Okay, who knows, in the future maybe you need evasion back, so you can use this Thrustmaster Reward and STMR, okay? Basically pretty decent, and really I don't have anything to complain about him, because he is NVA unit. He is perfectly good, okay? I can, if I'm back to score rating, I can say that he is 10 out of 10, same as Gilgamesh, okay? Really nice damage, slot efficient. And yes, talking about 10 out of 10, actually I'm quite tempted to get him, and probably I will use my lapis to get him, okay? Remember that, sure, if you use your ticket, it's really hard to get him because there are 6 rainbows, okay? But if you have spare lapis, and let's say you still don't have Elric Brothers, or even if you already have Elric Brothers, if you spend 4,500, you can get 1 coin, and that 1 coin you can use it to exchange for 7 stars King Bradley. I can say that it's totally worth to use my STMR Mughal, okay? Not because his STMR is that good, but just for making him into NVA unit, because on this event you can make all full metal alchemists. I mean, you can get 75 fragments to create a character into X+1, okay? So this is really, I can say that this is like not free unit, but also free in quote at the same time if you have small amount of lapis, okay? And maybe on that 4,500 lapis summon, you can get Elric Brothers if you are lucky, and that's another plus. And again, let's say you get another copy of Elric Brothers. If you already have Elric Brothers, you can get that Transcendent Pearl. It is cheaper because remember, Transcendent Pearl price is 5,000 lapis. Okay, so I can say that this is win-win situation. And let's say if you get King Bradley from that 4,500, that is also good because that means you don't need to use your Prism Moogle. Okay, let's say you get one King Bradley, use your Omni Prism. After that, use that 7 stars to combine with your King Bradley, and tada, you have 100% STMR King Bradley, which can be made into Neo Vision Awakened unit. So really guys, he is really great. Okay, I can recommend you to get him. Okay, especially if you don't have Descent buffer or you are still newbie, make sure you don't miss this King Bradley. Okay, this is insane character. So yeah, I think that's all you need to know about King Bradley. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more Final Fantasy Private CS Guide. Bye bye guys.